I heard you checked in.
Where's Charlie?
Charlie who?
Darling, you've done it. The Times is here.
Okay, good. I'm sorry. Elisa, this is Jason Desson. Jason, this is Elisa Cheney, my agent.
The Jason that inspired the show?
Yeah.
I am so proud to be your friend. Hi. This looks fantastic.
Thank you. Look who's here.
Ryan?
Yes, okay. Coming. Sorry, guys, I have to go be a good host, but I'm having a much smaller thing at my place after you come.
Yeah.
Jason?
Yeah, I wouldn't miss it. Well, shit, where the fuck have you been? I heard you cracked up and they stuck you in a cell. Although I also heard you moved to Costa Rica and became a farmer. And I heard you're dead.
Well, certainly not dead, so.
Hey, how do those compounds?
Hey, listeners, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Panels to Pixels podcast. And I can't even speak. Panels to Pixels podcast. Yes, there it is. Okay, in this episode of the podcast, we're covering Dark Matter Season 1, Episode 2, Trip of a Lifetime. Now, this show is on Apple TV Plus, so it's limited to certain viewers. So if you don't have Apple TV Plus, go out there, subscribe, get it, and come back and listen to the show. And yet, we still have to say it. Keep in mind, this is a spoiler review podcast. Now, mind you, it's been out for 2 weeks, the episode, because they dropped episodes 1 and 2. And we are recording this a little later because, life gets in the way and we have fun. And we have to do other things. But with that, we're going to continue on. And we're going to be covering episode 2, Trip of a Lifetime from Dark Matter Season 1. And the synopsis is, Steve?
Sure. Jason wakes up I can't talk either, apparently. Jason wakes to a life that makes no sense. He doesn't have a family, and he's created something extraordinary.
Very vague, very interesting. But considering that we literally come back where we left off from the first episode, which is literally him going into that other world. And in this particular episode, he explores that world and that other person, and we get a little bit of information. Mm-hmm. And I found out that I really did enjoy it and I realized at a certain point while watching, hey, this is the reason why they dropped off 2 episodes in a row. It's literally to clue you in, give you that movie kind of feel with the show. So that way you're engaged with the characters, the story, and where it goes. But oddly enough, like they love to do, is leave us off with a cliffhanger ending of the episode.
Oh, and we'll get to that. What a cliffhanger it was. Yeah, I feel the same way. It was really a good job of putting these 2 episodes together, because they really do flow one right into the other. And it's almost, again, like I go back to that noir feeling. He's almost like, it's like he's a detective and he's trying to search back through his life and find out, figure out, well, what's going on? Where am I? And trying to trace back his steps, and I think it's great that we got a few answers. We got a few answers that were like obvious answers to questions we had, but then we got more questions. And then we get that cliffhanger that was just like even the second time I watched it, I had totally forgotten about it. So it took me completely by surprise at the end. I was like, what? I was like, no, that just happened. And I was like, and when we get to it, we'll talk about, well, I'll get where the wheels started turning in my head of where the series is going. Okay. I think that when we get to that, but it was really, really cool to watch this episode twice and get that feel of that, like, again, that kind of noir where he doesn't know what's going on, but he's slowly starting to figure it out. Yeah. And when he gets that realization and he realizes what we have already figured out, because obviously we see both worlds. So he figures out that this is he did it. He built he found a way
Well, he didn't. His other self did.
His other self. Oh, yeah. Alt Jason or whatever we're calling him. Jason 2, I think, is what one of the common the. I can't remember if I read it online. No, I don't know if I read it online somewhere. I read Jason 2, or if it was in the closed captioning that they had Jason 2 on there. But
I didn't see
I also
that
say I didn't, and maybe I saw somewhere I saw Jason 2 somewhere, but I don't know where that was. But I also picked up on, and I don't know if they did. I don't remember. I have to go back and rewatch the first episode. I don't know if they did this, but did you pick up on the snap? Every time they went between worlds, there was like a sound effect. Yeah, there was like a snap sound effect that is basically letting the viewer know we have just switched worlds.
Or snapping in your brain that you switch worlds. I didn't catch that, but
yeah, it wasn't until the second watch that I noticed it, and I was like, oh, that happens every time they switched. And then there was one time when it happened, and I was like, wait, did they switch? And I was like, oh, they did switch. Because it kind of fooled us a little bit in one of the scenes in the house when they're walking around, and it switches. So once I noticed that, I want to look for that going forward to see if that continues. They continue to use that to let us know when we've switched worlds. Also, I want to go back to something that we talked about in the last episode, and I picked up on it on I heard it on the first time the first time I watched the episode, but in the rewatch I rewound it to make sure I heard what I thought I heard. When he's talking to, her name's Amanda.
Yes.
She says that she lives with him. She says, I live here with you. And then he says, where's my wife? She says, you don't have a wife.
Mm-hmm.
So, but she does say she lives there with him. Now, yes. I don't know. We still don't really have an indication of whether it's a romantic relationship, if it's just a roommate relationship.
I think it's a working relationship in a sense that they
live together because they're working together. That could be. That would make sense.
And she probably has a clue as to what's going on, and it's the box, because in this episode, yes, everybody, we said spoilers, but we're going to go into a little deep dive. He winds up calling her while he's with the other Daniela, and he says that he's going to go to a therapist. And this is before he goes back to his house.
Yeah, no, I figured this out in the second watch, and I didn't realize the first. It was a ruse. He deliberately lied to her. He said, I'm checking myself into a rehab hospital. And then he tells her what hospital, and she immediately gets
she's not there.
She immediately gets in her car and she drives away, and she drives past him and Daniela in the car. And that's when they get out of the car, and he goes up to the door and he goes, well, technically it's my house.
Yes. Technically it is.
Yeah. So he was a total, I didn't figure it out until the second watch. It was a total ruse that he was using to get her out of the house so they could search the house, and then he could find, like, this is okay. There's going to be these little nitpicks in every time we have an episode, I'm sure, because I'm a little surprised that Jason 2, Alt Jason, whatever we want to call him, didn't get rid of these books, because he finds the specific journal, the specific book that has all the information that he needs to know to go, oh, he figured out how to build this box,
Very true. It's so funny that you bring that up. And I always say, but without that book, then we wouldn't have a story, unfortunately. But it's always predictable in some of these stories. But also, you have to figure out the character Jason 2, who went to the prime, what I call the prime timeline, or prime world, where the other Jason is now in his. He thought probably it's like, oh, well, this Jason's an idiot.
Yeah, maybe he didn't think he would figure it out. It just seemed convenient, but it's a convenience that they needed, because we had to move the story along. We had to get main Jason to catch up to where the audience is.
Yes.
Okay. Because he had to catch up and realize, and that's when he lays out that he starts by saying it's hypothetical, but then obviously about halfway through his hypothetical story, they realize he's talking about himself.
Yeah.
Because he's,
I just love it how Ryan is just like, well, you're crazy. And when they talk about it, he goes, Ryan says, brain tumor. head trauma or multi-tiered punking. And he goes, he asks how much LSD he's on,
yeah.
and that he's crazy. And then he gets really pissed off. But you could tell Ryan's relationship with Daniela in this world is a little bit more caring, understanding. It's as if they were together after Jason left.
Yeah,
I
I'm
kind
still
of got those
confused.
vibes.
Yeah, I'm still confused about that because I went back and forth in both watches of this episode of what the relationship is between Ryan, because when he comes into the party, he says something about my friend has had this great showing or something like that. So he's calling her his friend.
Yes.
But then he had the slippers were there and she says, "Oh, it's my last boyfriend's slippers, but they're too fancy, I think, to be Ryan's slippers."
Yes.
So if they have been, it's been a little while since they've been together. There's also something I picked up on, after they have that conversation and Ryan leaves the room and tells him, to eat a bag of dicks and let me microwave them for you so that they'll be warm. Because he realizes that he's talking about the baby, right? That when Daniela was pregnant. But here's the thing. And I went back over that conversation that she has with Jason talking about Charlie. And she says, he realizes that's the point where his universe is skipped.
Yes.
And okay, viewers, if you have not been watching movies or TV shows or anything that involves these multiverses, these quantum mechanics kind of things, I'll make it a quick understanding of basically the way I see it. I don't think it's every choice we make. Like I got up this morning and I put on a red shirt instead of a blue shirt. So I suddenly created a universe where I put on a blue shirt. No, I don't think that's what happens. What the theory is that whenever you make a big decision, that you split off and you create a separate universe where the other side of that decision is made. For instance, I would say in my life, if this theory is true, and I don't believe this theory is true, I think we're just one.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks. I don't. It's yeah. If the theory would be like there's a universe out there when I decided to join the Air Force way too long ago, 35 years ago, when I decided to join the Air Force, that I created another universe where there's a universe where I didn't join the Air Force and my life took a totally different path. And that's the conversation that Daniela describes that inspired her show that she created around Jason. And that's the conversation that he had with her when he says, "I'll probably never see you again." And she says that was about a year ago, I think is what she says.
Yes.
So that coincides with how long he's been missing. So I think you're right. I think he spent some time until everything caught up. And I think these timelines are synced at this point.
I think a little bit, not until we get further into the season, I think will get a little skewed. We haven't gotten another version yet.
We haven't gotten this goes. Let's go now. Let's talk about the cliffhanger because this goes right into my theory is about how
well, you mentioned it before, which I like just to top on. You talked about the snap that's in between two worlds. The one giveaway for me is the cut on Jason's nose,
on his nose, right,
from Prime. And then you got Daniela in the Prime world where she's got shorter hair, and the other timeline she's got longer hair.
Right.
Jimmy Simpson looks a little fatter in the other world than he is in the Prime world.
Yeah, so he looks like a little chunkier. I don't know. I'm sure that may have been a conscious choice for them. So they gave us.
It could be more of a drinking choice, like as if if you drink, you gain a little poundage on your face. Maybe they did that, and they could have did it in makeup. So just to give him that look of his life took the different turn because obviously he's a different Ryan than the Ryan we met in main Jason's universe. This is going to get so confusing. Yeah, and he didn't get the Pavia award, and that's when he got really pissed off at Jason during that whole conversation. I just love the stories though that crack before we get into the cliffhanger, but the stories that he says when he meet at the party, he goes like he cracked up and was stuck in a cell, or he moved to Costa Rica and became a farmer, and then even dead.
Right.
But there's a little few clues in that story, in that whole scene where he says Ryan apparently made compounds for him last year, which was probably meant for the box.
Mhm.
So
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure
I
that's going to
definitely
come back
think.
around.
Yeah, I definitely think whatever compounds Ryan made for him, that's the serum or whatever word we want to use for it that facilitates you jumping universes.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I think that's why he's got that storage unit in the main universe that has all that stuff in it, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
And
So that's also like a dead giveaway of that he's been in that world, in that
for
prime
a
world for
while.
a while. He puts the mask off to the side,
Hmm.
but we see the military style cases where he puts the gun in and it's in the
Hmm.
foam case. He's got another one dedicated to another piece. So he's been there and building up time. My question, and it's always my realistic thoughts of everything, is like, where did he get the money
Yeah,
to get all
I
this?
wonder I wonder if there's a little bit of a time thing here also. Maybe he could have brought money from his world
Correct.
into this world if it's similar enough, because obviously he won the Pavia, so he built this foundation, this velocity that is apparently a pretty big
Multi-million dollar
corporate.
company. Yeah.
Yeah, so he could have brought money from his world into main world to buy. Yeah, I think that's going to have to be played out um as the story goes forward. And it's this is where I said we have some questions answered, but we
Mhm.
get more questions.
That is
Just
true.
like the baby. What happened to the baby? We don't know. Did she have an abortion? Did she
Well,
lose
I
the
think
baby?
she kind of alluded to it during that conversation.
Yeah, and I've got it here. What she says is she says she chose not to do it alone.
Correct.
That's all she says. So I don't know what that means. She could have given the baby up for adoption. She could have. There's any number of. And this is the writers are very cagey in the way they write this story,
Very true.
because,
For all
like I
we know,
said,
that's maybe her attachment with Ryan. Maybe Ryan has the kid and brought him
maybe
up.
Ryan
Who
has the
knows?
kid. Maybe her parent. We don't know. All I know is the quote is she said she chose not to do it alone.
Yeah.
And we don't know what that means. We don't know the answer to that. And so Ryan's reaction makes me seem like she either lost the baby or had an abortion, but
Mm.
her answer makes me seem like maybe that's a story she told. Like if she gave the baby up for adoption, but she told everybody that she lost him. You know what I'm saying?
Possibly.
Like I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm just speculating. This is total
It's all
speculation here.
speculation because
Right.
like I did for podcast and Wilhelm when we did Monarch. I don't have screeners, so I'm not watching ahead.
Yeah.
I can't watch ahead. I'm like with everybody else. I'm
Yeah.
like watching episode by episode. Now,
Oh, I'm
mind
going to
you,
watch episode 3 tonight for sure.
well, same here. And we episode 3 with Apple TV Plus, they tend to drop their episodes on Thursdays, it
Mhm.
seems. So as soon as it comes out, people jump on it and go watch it. And I used to be like that when Servant was coming on and things of that nature with those shows, and with Monarch as well. But I'm still behind, but I'm still looking forward to it when we record again for
Yeah.
episode 3.
Absolutely.
But with that cliffhanger, though, let's go into that. You were starting to talk about it. We kind of went a different direction, but we could talk about this because the person that does what they do at the very end, we've seen them before.
Yeah, she's with them in the facility. Did we see her in the main universe? I don't think we saw her in the main universe. We
No.
only seen her in the alt universe.
Yes.
And she hasn't really been identified what her role is, but she's the one who told she identified everybody in the room,
Mhm.
I think, except herself. When they did that recording, that in the first episode,
Mhm.
when they were interviewing Jason, she identified everyone in the room except herself.
Yes.
So I don't know who she is, but I'm intrigued because the first time when she shot Daniela, I was like, what? And then, like I said, I had forgotten about it on the second watch. So when she did it in the second watch, I was like, oh yeah, she shoots her in the head. And I'm like, what is going on? And then, she hog ties Jason and takes him out.
Mhm.
And we have no idea. Hopefully next episode, we're going to pick that up, obviously. But, the only thing what I speculated about with this is going to drive main Jason
Mhm.
to really want to get these compounds and figure out how to jump universes
To get
because
back, yeah,
he wants to get back Daniela. He wants to get at least a version of her. He almost had a version of her in this universe, and I don't know if that would have. I'm sure that wouldn't have made him happy, but he's definitely not going to be happy now. You know,
well, yeah, and it's so funny too because with how he creates the machine, he might not even know, like even that Jason that is in the Prime universe now, the second one,
mhm.
he's there and he didn't know much about this Jason, his interests,
Oh
his
yeah,
thoughts.
oh yeah.
And
I have a note on that, but
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and he didn't really do his thorough investigation of it,
Yeah,
and
he's got to be careful about what he doesn't know.
yeah,
You know, like the fact that he didn't know that main Jason had told Charlie to tell Brooke. Like he didn't. I guess he didn't realize. And this is this is one of my quotes that I'm going to give right now. When he
good.
looks at Jason's clothes in
Mhm.
the closet, he just rolls his eyes. He goes, "You're killing me."
Yeah, I know.
So I thought that was
Because
great.
it's boring. It's like a
Yeah,
boring
yeah,
married life. And Prime Jason in the other world mentions that to Daniela about their life because she's interested.
right.
And he goes, and they had their issues. So you can see where the tension is within the marriage that they have, especially when she was mad at him for when
Mhm.
he was out late in the first episode.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
how his spontaneity with second Jason in the Prime world when he gets there and she's going for her training and he just kisses her and it's like one of those things of like, wow, you're never up this early. What's
Mhm.
going on here? And it's like something that she hasn't seen in a long time. So she's
Yeah,
starting, I think the real Daniela in that world, in that Prime world, is starting to see there's a change in him.
yeah.
So
There's
I'm
something
thinking
different.
now
Yeah.
that Daniela in the second world is dead because yeah, she did. She got a hole in her head. But they it's gonna make Prime Jason in that world try to get somewhere, and I wouldn't be surprised if he hops and jumps into a world that isn't the Prime world that he's from. It could be a completely different one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested. I'm really interested to understand why he picked this Jason to kidnap and
Or
swap
did
with.
he? Or did he?
Was
Do
it
you
just
think
was it
he?
random? Was it a random universe that he jumped into and he went with it? He didn't look for any others.
I
I don't
think he
know.
did.
Well, that's what I'm saying is we don't know at this point. We until we find out. I don't. But I'm with you. He definitely didn't do. There was some research he didn't do,
Mhm.
and obviously he when, in that first episode when they have sex, I thought I thought I was torn really,
Well,
and I'm
you would
still
think she would notice the difference between
no
him.
no well yeah not well she noticed the little thing the spot on his arm and stuff, but
Yeah.
I you would think she would notice like a difference like in the way he made love the way they had sex. I don't know, but what I'm trying to get at here is I lost my train of thought. No, what he I just want to know if he picked this Jason specifically, and did
Mhm.
he pick this Jason because he wanted to see what that life was like? Because when he goes to school, he actually looks like he's going to be a different type of teacher than
Yes.
what main Jason was, but it looks like he's still going to be a good teacher, a good professor. He has
Hmm.
some good things to say and some good points to make. And so it's good, but he also has this coldness about him,
Yep.
that I don't know. So again, I'm kind of, I want to know if he chose this Jason or if it was just the randomness of the one that he got and he didn't. I don't know if he searched for others, if he knew where the split was, where he knew where he was in his world and he knew where this world was. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Like he didn't like. So I'm hoping they give us some insight into that. I don't know how they're going to do that, but I hope they can show us that insight, because that cliffhanger of Daniela killing Alt Daniela is
Mhm.
like just out of the blue. Like,
Yeah.
and obviously he wouldn't have coordinated that with them, because they are starting to figure. I think they are Leighton and his group are starting to figure out what Jason did, what alt Jason did.
Mhm.
That this is not alt Jason. I think they're starting to figure that out. They haven't figured it out yet because remember they still think he knows all their secrets and he's going to give up what they know. But so yeah, so that cliffhanger is going to be interesting to see where it goes into the third episode. Another point I want to make on a lighter note that I think I've kind of figured out why this is, but I still think it's a story hole. When main Jason goes to the village tap and the bartender doesn't even know him.
Yep.
Like at all. I was like, would alt Jason have never, like, the bar is within walking distance of his home? You would think. Now, the only conclusion I came to was that either because he's more kind of highfalutin, he wouldn't go to an establishment like that. And also he's so much dedicated to his work. Alt Jason is so much dedicated to his work that he wouldn't go to an establishment like that. So I on one hand, I can see, okay, yeah, he never would have gone to this bar because it wouldn't be in his character to go to this bar. But at the same time, I'd be like, it's right around the corner from his house. Why wouldn't he have at least drank there a few times, you know? So I was a little confused by that, but I think I think I've worked myself into going, okay, I can accept that he would have never gone to this bar because of the type of person he is, that he would be above this bar, you know?
Yeah.
Because remember in the main universe, Ryan still went to that bar, but he had just won the Pavia when
Correct.
he chose to go to that bar. So he had already been, you know, kind of a, you know, not a highfalutin rich kind of character before that. So, yeah. So I think I've worked myself. It's not necessarily a hole. It's just kind of it's a kind of a meh kind of thing that I would go, would they have not? But
It's one of those things you could think of yourself going in circles with the story and how they're
right. Well,
presenting
because
it.
I'd also ask the question of if he's a different character, why is he living in the same house? Obviously, it's modeled differently. Why would he be in the same house? So maybe that's why he chose this Jason, because they had the same address. Maybe it's as simple as that. That they had the same address, and he needed a home that he could go to establish. I don't know.
He needed a home to go to. He also needed a Daniela that he could pursue, because apparently that was his longing. It was a regret that he had, that he's trying to start up with her. Because you could see it in Second Jason and how he is trying to push for this with her and possibly Charlie, his son. So that's interesting enough. I love how he Prime Jason stresses the whole thing about Charlie and his Daniela, and how the reason in his force of trying to get back is because of them, his love of life and his love. His
absolutely.
family.
Absolutely. We know that main Jason definitely wants to get back to the main universe.
Yes.
What we're calling the main Jason main universe. He wants to get back to the main the main one. So like I said, I'm curious to see how this plays out with him, because main Jason has got to figure out how to step into different universes.
Yes.
And then once he figures out how to step into different universes, he's going to have to figure out if he can pinpoint his particular universe. Yeah. And all that time, we've got to wonder, what is alt Jason going to be doing to try to combat him, trying to defend against him doing that? Or is alt Jason going to want to swap to a different universe if he realizes he doesn't like this life with this Daniela and this Charlie? Yeah. Maybe he realizes, oh, I don't like this life, so I'm gonna go to a different universe. But yeah, so I'm really, like, again, the story has just really got me intrigued, and it really has lit a fire in me I'm excited for this show, and I hope that the story, that the writers, the story runners, whoever's in charge, have an idea of where they want to go. Yeah. And if they want to finish it in one season, then finish it in one season. But if Apple TV is going to give them the rope, and we've seen that Apple TV will give some shows, if it's popular enough, they'll give some shows the rope and let them go. And they'll also let shows end the way they want. I mean, I refer to Ted Lasso, and I'm not going to spoil anything about Ted Lasso, but the fact that it's only 3 seasons is surprising because it was such a hit. But you know, the storytellers have said we had a story to tell, and this was a story we told, and we told it.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that we have that with Dark Matter here, that whether it's a 1-season show or a 3-season arc or a 3-4 whatever, I hope whatever it is, Apple TV gives them the rope to run with it, because I'm excited for this show and I want it to continue. And I know that might be putting a nail in its coffin.
Yeah, well, there have been other Apple TV shows that kind of came and went really quick. They've only lasted maybe 3 seasons. So I maybe that's their take on their season, because I think that's the most I've ever seen. But then again, Apple TV Plus is still new.
Yeah, it's still forming, so maybe they're figuring themselves out. You know, they're feeling them up. That was a weird way to say that. They're figuring things out.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else have I got here? I love, and we've already referenced it, but that conversation that Daniela had with Alt Jason before he left, we presume before he left, that inspires her show. I like it. It gives us, as the audience, it gives us the premise of the show. And again, maybe it's kind of the show hitting us on the head with it, but at the same time, maybe the show felt it really needed to be spelled out and explained why she would have a show dedicated around this guy who she's no longer with, you know. And when he walks into the gallery and he sees the pictures of him, he sees several different kind of slightly skewed versions of himself.
Yes.
So it's almost like she's tapping into that idea of there's alternate Jasons out there, and there's alternate universes out there that where when you make a choice, and that's why she did the thing with the cards. You know, you made one choice today, but you can come back in the next month. You can come back 2 more times in the next month and make a different choice and see where that choice would have led you. And I'm just like, wow, that's such a great metaphor for the show that it just was really, really cool. Let me see. I know we've been doing some short stuff, but I'm trying to see if I've got anything else that I've not mentioned. I've got some quotes that I haven't mentioned yet, but Leighton does ask about Ryan. So Leighton is at least aware that Ryan worked with the project, and we know that Ryan says that when he's talking to main Jason in the alt universe, he says, well, what happened with those compounds? And Jason's like playing like he doesn't know, and Ryan gets mad because Ryan's like, no, you know what, I know you're in an NDA, but I was working for you guys, you know, on the down low. And I want to know what you did with what I made for you. I want to know how much money I have made you, basically, is I think what he's saying. I want to know how much money I've made you so that I can get paid, you know. And obviously main Jason has no clue what he's talking about yet, because he hasn't figured it out at that point. But once he figures it out, he's going to have to go back to Ryan and try to talk to him about this whole situation and go, what are these compounds that you made? And I think that's what we're going to see either in the next episode, or if he gets away in the next episode, or sometime soon. We've got to see a conversation between Ryan and main Jason about these compounds, because he's got to learn how they're used so that he can jump universes.
Yeah.
We already talked about Alt Jason needs to watch what he doesn't know. And
one thing to add on to what you were talking about, how you're mentioning about how choices that you make and everything. Actually, we do get that told by Daniela during her toast at the gallery.
Yes,
when she states, she goes, basically, to dumb it down, I didn't get the whole quote or anything. I don't know what happened to my quotes when I transferred them, but okay. That their existence is all about choices. Choices create worlds. So theoretically, simultaneously inhabited on an infinite number of them. And he told her the worst choice in that particular world is the one he made with her.
Mm-hmm.
So that's showing literally, it's just like blindsiding us with like the obvious of what they're dealing with.
Well, yeah, I like that. That's how he figures out. He puts more of the pieces together about what's going on, because he realizes, no, I didn't make that choice. I made the choice to be with you.
Yes,
You know,
that's how.
And she's like, no, you didn't make that choice. And he's like, and that's when you see the light bulb moment. I did have another thing that I forgot. The scene where when she's talking about the time when he came to talk to her that night before he left, in the background, and I had to back it up a few times to see this.
Okay.
In the background, there appears to be something moving. It looks like a cat kind of moving back and forth in the background. It's very blurred out. And viewers, if you want to write in and call me crazy or say you didn't see it, but I swear I backed it up and rewound it and like did my zoom in eyes, because I can't zoom in on my TV, but I did my zoom in eyes, and I swear it was looking like a cat going back and forth in the background, and we never saw a cat in the apartment at all.
Maybe that's
so
a reference to Schrodinger.
Maybe that's a reference to Schrodinger's cat. Maybe it's just the show messing with us or something.
That's
but
a possibility.
I'm gonna be kind of watching the background now in my rewatches for sure. If I don't notice it in the first watch, I'm gonna be watching the background to see if there's these blurred out cats kind of thing, because I thought that was cool.
All right, cool.
That's all I had for notes and discussion points.
Yeah, same here.
I do have some quotes. We do have a mic drop moment there at the beginning when he's talking about the pictures on the wall that he sees of Daniela taking a trip, and he goes, no, we took that trip together. It was a trip of a lifetime. So we got the mic drop moment, at least in this one. Then going back to what we were saying about what Jason doesn't know, when he's looking at the toothbrushes and he's trying to decide, and she walks in the bathroom and he goes, why are you using my toothbrush? So obviously he chose the wrong toothbrush. And then the last one I said, I actually already had it, was when they go into, he's like, technically it is my house. So when she's talking about breaking and entering and stuff, but yeah, I would have loved to have seen more of this relation, because unfortunately, I think we're going to have to see this conversation similarly played out in future episodes, where he's going to find a Daniela who he didn't go with.
Yes.
And he's going to have to convince her that he did. And so I'm really intrigued, because it's going to be, we've already seen the subtle differences in these actors from one universe to the next. I'm going to be interested, because this is definitely an acting, I don't want to say it's an acting course, but actors need to watch this show to see how they're going to perform, how they're going to make their performances subtly different from character to character, because these characters are going to be the same character, but slightly different. And how are the actors going to show us that? We've already seen it with Daniela. We definitely have like the short hair and the long hair. We have the training, the not training. So we've got that. We've definitely seen the two Jasons. We can definitely see a colder side to the alt Jason. There's even like I almost want to say there's a deepening in his voice that he does a little bit. He's a little bit deeper voice to make it sound colder and more bitter. We talked about Ryan, the subtle differences in his appearance, but also just in the way he acts. We haven't got a lot with Ryan yet, so I'm going to be interested to see more of that. Yeah. But I'm excited to see these actors kind of stretch their acting abilities in these future episodes.
Same here. The cast, it was well casted, and you know that there is talent between Jimmy Simpson, Joel Edgerton, and Jennifer Connelly. So we know, and then I'm waiting to see who else we get. The actress who plays Amanda is done very well as well, I think.
Yeah.
But,
is that now? Her name is Alice Braga.
Mm-hmm.
Is she related to Oh, why is the actress name escaping me now? Sonia Braga.
That's
I
a good
didn't look.
question.
I didn't look that up. So, um, I need to look. I'll try to look that up
Well,
before
she's a
next.
Brazilian actress, it says, but parents
Uh,
Ana Braga, Nino Moraes,
okay,
and that's it. Nah,
not Sonia. So maybe not. We'll see. It might be just a common name. I don't want to get outed here for. um, uh,
but
no.
she's been
So
in other films too that we've seen before, like City of
mhm,
God, Hypnotic, that came out with Ben Affleck. She was in I
mhm.
Am Legend
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Predators and Elysium.
yeah.
So she's been
We've
around.
seen her before. So she's been around. Okay, okay.
But the only quote that I would have that would be from Daniela, and that's her saying, "That's a cynical view of love, my love." Went to Jason when
Uh
Jason
huh.
tells his son that a relationship is a negotiation, and if he
Oh,
says to the girl he likes first, then he won't. It's because it goes against what the other version of him had said before to
hmm.
Charlie. So she was just like, it was one of those questionable moments of the main Danielle that
Yeah,
we know.
yeah. We're gonna get to see this again. I'm excited to see how this all plays out.
But yeah, that's about it for me. Notes and quotes and my thoughts on the episode. But if you guys have anything, we'll tell you how you could actually send in your thoughts. But that's pretty much our coverage right now. But we're just going to go into podcast recommendations that are out there for you. That if you're watching anything, because there's a little bit of a lull in TV that's out there nowadays.
There
So
is we got some stuff coming up though. It was just announced this week. Strange Indeed will be coming back beginning of June with the third and final season of Sweet Tooth. I'm excited to hear Rima and Paik in my ears again. I've been missing their voices. I unfortunately have not been able to kept up on Run for Your Lives, but I'm excited to hear Strange Indeed again. I'm excited for Sweet Tooth coming back, and I can't wait to send in some live Steves about
awesome.
those new episodes.
Yeah, and Rima will be on with myself, Lara, and Daniel from when we do what I like to call the Famcast. I don't really know what to call it, but it's a collaborative podcast between Adrenaline Cinema Podcast and Podcastica, and we're covering Interview with the Vampire. So you can hear it on both feeds, but I'm putting on both, and we're covering both there.
And
So
that starts
Rima's going to
tomorrow
join
night,
us.
right? That's
No, it already started.
Oh, it already started. Okay,
Interview already
okay,
started. We started last Sunday, so the new episode this
okay,
Sunday on the 19th is the second.
okay. Are they
They
posting those on House Podcastica and Adrenaline Cinema
Yes,
together at the same time? Okay,
yes,
sweet.
I'm posting those, and as well as on YouTube for Adrenaline Cinema Podcast, so you can
Okay,
check that all out. So if
great.
you guys don't subscribe to Adrenaline, you can. If not, if you subscribe to Podcast, you'll get it in your feed. We did a companion. We did the coverage of Interview with the Vampire Chronicles from 1994. So we did the movie itself, but unfortunately, I released the episode of the show first and then the movie. But it's a companion piece too. We highly recommend that you go to podcastica.com, check out everybody that's doing a podcast. I'm still doing Sandman Cast with Jamie as well on Podcastica. We're covering Dead Boy Detectives, so we're doing, I believe, episode 4 this week, so you could check that out. And then Run for Your Lives, as Steve had mentioned, they're going back to the well. They went and recovered Tremors.
Oh, nice.
So they did it originally. Run for Your Lives.
It was their
It was
first
it
episode.
was that first episode when they
Mhm.
were on they were on Pirate Car Entertainment. Now they're on Podcastica. So for getting a different point of view of the movie again, but it's like, I don't know, 4 years later almost.
Nice.
Wow, just to think they've been doing that for 4 years, and I've been doing this for 9.
Wow.
All right. But yeah, then you have the extraordinary cast with Penny and Greg. Check that out. Obviously, Jason and Lucy are continuing their coverage on the Cast of Us of The Walking Dead, and they're covering the Walking Dead season 2, And I think the most recent episode they do is episode 9. So they're doing go back coverage of that. And then you have Penny and everybody doing on the House Podcast Shogun season 1. So if you're not, that's a cool show to watch. So if you haven't seen it, listen, they just did a whole coverage of the whole season itself. But Rob Moda, who's been on the podcast, loved the show and says you got to watch it. So if you're interested in period pieces and things of that nature, especially with Japanese lore, culture, they get it down to the T with this show, especially with the music, the clothing, dialogue, everything in cool reference. So it's very different from the Shogun we remember way back when in the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So
nice.
And then obviously the cast of Rings is going to come back soon too, because the new
Rings of Power.
Rings of Power is coming back. So check that out. All you have to do is go to podcastica.com. So, well, where else can listeners hear us? Obviously, you could hear me right here on Panels to Pixels podcast, as always. We're covering this now, Dark Matter, but eventually when Deadpool Wolverine come out, guess what? We'll be covering that. And then The Boys in June.
Mm-hmm.
The Boys will be back. So we're going to be covering that. So you could hear Rob, Steve, myself, probably Frank, depending on who wants to jump on and have fun with it, because I know Jason's a fan of The Boys. So I'm trying to see if he wants to jump on. But you could also hear me on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast, Sandman Cast on Podcastica, and all that cool stuff. But obviously you guys know to find that. But that's it for me. Steve, obviously.
Again, obviously right here on Panels to Pixels, you can hear me. That's the main thing that I'm doing right now. But I also send voicemails to various Podcastica podcasts that are out there. You'll hear my voice pop up randomly during feedback sessions of those podcasts. So listen up for those.
All right. Well, that's our coverage of the episode. But like I said, I have not put up a post for this particular episode just yet. So if you want to, you could still send feedback. We highly recommend, if you have an opinion or thought of what we've done before, just go back, listen, and then leave feedback. And the way you can is just go to our Facebook page, and that would be facebook.com/panels to pixels. Obviously, you could leave a message in Messenger. You could leave it on the post that we have available. Or if not, you could just send us an email. panelstopixels1@gmail.com. That's panels, 2 is spelled out T-O, pixels, and the number 1@gmail.com. You could just type out your thoughts, or you could just record yourself and send it as an attachment, and you could be a part of the conversation on the podcast, because I could play that live. We can be found on Instagram as well as Facebook. So it's at Panels to Pixels Podcast. And we do give the same information when a new episode's up, what we're covering, things of that nature. You could leave a comment below. We're also found on YouTube Podcasts. All you have to do is search for Panels to Pixels Podcast on YouTube. Subscribe, ring the bell, and be notified whenever an episode does come up. And if it's possible, if you could give us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, that would be greatly appreciated. Especially if you could just leave a comment. 5 stars are always welcome, please. It gets us noticed, and as well, word of mouth gets us noticed. Next week, we are covering Season 1, Episode 3, The Box. So I'm looking forward to, after we get off this podcast now, to watch that episode, because it's strong.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, well, that wraps up our coverage this week of Dark Matter, Season 1, Episode 2. And I just want to thank everybody for listening. I'm Mark.
I'm Steve.
Same podcast, different panel, different pixel. This was Panels to Pixels podcast. And we will see you on the next panel. Good night, everybody.
Good night now.